All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going on a pretty exciting journey, not into some far off land, but into the world of ideas. We're going to unpack the fascinating process behind so much of what we know academic research. And look, this whole explainer is possible because of the amazing work of Damar Singh Saad. We seriously appreciate these insights. And a huge thank you is in order for Holistic Education for giving this kind of knowledge a home where it can be shared. It's contributions like this that really help all of us learn and grow. So you've heard it a million times, right? Studies show. And we all just kind of nod our heads. But have you ever stopped to think about what that actually means? Where do those studies even come from? Well, that's the big question we're tackling today. We're going to pull back the curtain and show you the whole shebang. I want you to think about the research process like a big expedition. And this is our map. It lays out the 8 key stages that take a researcher from just a spark of an idea all the way to a discovery that gets shared with the world. We're going to walk through every single one of these stages together. Every big adventure starts somewhere. For a researcher, that first step isn't about lacing up your boots. It's about asking a question. It's that moment of genuine curiosity where you just look at the world and go, I wonder why, or what if? That right there, that's how the quest for knowledge really kicks off. I mean, you wouldn't just set off into the unknown without a map and a plan, would you? Of course not. And research is exactly the same. This first phase is all about charting the course. It's where we cover those first 3 absolutely critical stages of our expedition, laying the groundwork for everything that comes next. So this planning phase has 3 main parts. First, you've got to identify the problem. Find a real gap in what we currently know. Then you review the literature, which is kind of like studying the maps of all the explorers who came before you. And finally, once you've all that background, you formulate a hypothesis. That becomes your destination, a clear, testable question that's going to guide your entire journey. Okay, so the plan is set. The course is charted. Now the expedition truly begins. This is the get your hands dirty phase, where the researcher actually goes out into the world to gather evidence and collect data. This is where the discoveries are waiting to be found. And at the very heart of this phase is the research design. Seriously, think of it as the master blueprint for the whole adventure. It lays out not just what you're looking for, but the very specific, super rigorous methods you're going to use to find it. This blueprint is what makes the whole thing legit. It keeps it logical, structured, and trustworthy. And here's the Explorer's Toolkit. Depending on that blueprint, a researcher might use surveys to see what's happening across a huge group of people, or they might do really deep interviews to understand one person's experience inside and out. Each tool has a very specific job, and using them with care and precision is what turns random noise into valuable data. So the researcher's back from the field, bags packed with data. Now comes maybe the most important part of all. It's not about action anymore. It's about thinking. It's that moment when you lay everything out on the table and try to make sense of what you've actually found. And turning that raw data into real insight is a 3-step process. First, you analyze it, using different tools to find patterns in all that information. Then you interpret those patterns. How do they connect back to the original question? And finally, you draw a conclusion. What does it all mean? What does this discovery add to what we know? A discovery doesn't mean much if it's kept a secret. So the final, and I mean critical stage of the journey is to come back from the quest and share what you've learned. Because knowledge that isn't shared is pretty much knowledge that's lost. And this sharing happens in a few key ways. Researchers write up these super detailed articles for journals, they present their findings at conferences, or they publish reports. The whole point is to be transparent. You share the entire journey, the map, the tools, the findings, so that other people can learn from it and build on it. That's literally how human knowledge moves forward. Okay, so we've mapped out all the stages of the journey, but now we got to go a little deeper to something the source material calls the actual soul of research. The idea here is that how you do your research, the method you choose, is every bit as important as what you find. It actually shapes the entire quest. So you've basically got 2 main philosophical paths you can take. There's the quantitative path, which is all about objective reality. It uses numbers, stats, and measurement to find truths that can be applied broadly. Then you've got the qualitative path, which explores subjective reality. It's about words, context, and meaning. It's trying to get a deep understanding of a very specific situation. And look, neither one is better than the other. They're just looking for different kinds of truth. But what if you need both? Well, that's where mixed methods research comes in. It's the best of both worlds. A researcher might use a survey to get the big picture, numerical what, that's the breadth, and then they'll do interviews to understand the deep, personal why, that's the depth. It just gives you a much richer, more complete picture of really complex topics. And that brings us to this powerful idea from the source material, and this quote just nails it. Methodology isn't just a choice you make about tools, it is the philosophical heart, the very soul of the research. It defines the kind of knowledge you're even trying to create in the first place. So after this whole journey, we end up right back where we started, with a simple question. The research process gives us a map, and the methodology gives that search its soul. The only thing missing now is the spark. So what are you curious about? What little gap in the map have you noticed? What question could be the start of your next great quest?